Hey, welcome back to Sprague Homestead. So today I am going to assemble some new feeders for the lady goats over in the barn over here. And I'm going to take you along and show you how to assemble the Behlen feeders in case you ever wonder about them. All right, so the Behlen feeders, or the Behlen Country brand feeders, are basically two pieces when you buy them. You get the lower half, which is going to be kind of the bunk feeder itself, which comes assembled with the plastic tub. It should be four basically bolts holding it into this metal frame you can see kind of tucked underneath. Now there's an upper half to this that you have to purchase separately if you want the complete feeder, or you can just use a basic one. Now the upper half itself comes in the wire piece that's there. It's got two legs that comes with it, and you can kind of see up here at the top is the bolts that come with it, the nut and bolt kit. So in order to get these apart, basically the legs are held on by this complete wire here. You take that off, take the legs off, and then I need to open my bolt kit in order to get the nuts and bolts out to assemble this into a kind of like a top half piece with the legs, and then I'll show you how to drill the bottom piece here and then get it assembled. Once you have your legs and your bolt kit or your nut kit taken off there, you can set them up roughly to the side. Now you're going to think these look top to bottom the same, and what you're going to see is there's a hole right there. Now this hole actually aligns up with the bottom of here to this. So what you can notice is if you stand this up, that bolt hole should line up with there. If it's not, it'll be down here somewhere and you'll have to flip it over. All right, so the Behlen kit does come with instructions, and it's got basically 5 steps over here on the side. Really, the first step is pretty easy. It's going to be taking your leg and attaching it on both sides to your top rack. Now, one thing I want to point out, other than the directions are pretty darn easy, and I think I spent more time finding all the right tools to do this than actually putting these together. One thing Behlen does say is they like the bolt to go from the inside of the rack to the outside of this. Now, I actually do not like this. The reason is, why you think this is only a little bit protruding out of this bolt, you would be surprised at how much stuff will snag on this. So I actually prefer to flip this around and put the bolt from the outside in, and then put the nut in here. The goats are less likely to hit themselves on a bolt sticking out here getting feed than I am to actually grab my pants and tear my pants. And you think, that can't happen. Trust me, do it the opposite way. Flip it around, put the bolt in from the outside and the nut on the inside. To attach these on the bottom, you're going to get, I think it's 8 of these nuts. I think that's right. 8 of these small nuts and washers. They're all the same size, and you're going to use a 1/2-inch wrench or a ratchet and socket. And then I prefer to use a wrench. I guess you have a ratcheting wrench here. Both of those are going to be 1/2-inch. However you're going to do it, you can use 2 sockets and ratchets, 2 wrenches, however you want to do it. But you're going to take your socket and ratchet, hold the bolt head on the bottom, and then just use your ratcheting wrench to tighten these down. Now, you don't have to tighten these down extremely tight. I always call it, think of it, tighten them down snug, but not yelling. What's yelling tight? Yelling tight is ratcheting it and going, "Ugh!" That's yelling tight. You don't need it that tight. Just snug them down to a good tightness there. Now, once you have these 2 done, you can go up, tighten up your top one up here, and then this leg, once all 3 of those are done, is done for now. Swap the rack around, and then do the opposite side. So, loosely tighten the one up here in the leg, put these in, tighten them down, and then go back and retighten that one up there. This just holds it in place, snug, 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 and then that is done. Once your rack is assembled, you've got both legs to the kind of the cage itself. Next is to start assembling it to your basin. So we'll go ahead and pick this one here. They're both the same, these other ones sitting here. Now, one thing you'll notice is that these edges do not have holes in them in order to bolt the rack to it. So the tub itself is molded without them, and the reason is you necessarily don't have to put a rack on it like we do. We like the rack there to hold the hay up. Otherwise, you can put just use the base of the tub. So in order to do this, what I'm going to do is flip this tub over, and you'll notice on the back side in the metal, there's actually 2 holes there. I just need to puncture it through or drill it through to the plastic edge of the base itself. You can see there are 2 holes there on each side, and you need to drill those out. Now the hole itself on the instruction says to go within 11/32, and you get a drill bit set. A lot of times an 11/32 isn't really a common drill bit size, but a 3/8 is. So an 11/32 is literally 1/32 less than a 3/8 or a 12/32. So you can just take those, just put it on a drill gun, pop it down in there, 3/8 will fit, and just pop that through on both of those. Now, a word of patience on putting this stuff together. I'll tell you, this is the 6th, well, this will be the 5th and 6th one I've put together. We've already have 3 of these here. And putting these together with a nut and bolt nut down in the base, these nuts and bolts, I've never found one that actually fit straight out of the way. So you can kind of see how angled that is down in there. A lot of these you're going to have to really be patient and work at. So that one, at least the bolt will go in it. It's not long enough, but a lot of this stuff, well, just be patient with it. That's all I'll say. It's really not going to fit very well. Nothing is greatly done, I guess. I'm not sure of the dimensions. It's usually warped probably from welding, from shipping. I know they're not taking very good care of them at our local store. So just an FYI, be patient with them. You may have to secure them down in a certain sequence in order to make it all work. You may have to switch it around, turn it around 180 degrees from side to side to see if it's going to work. But either way, just be patient. Put your bolts in from the top, the nuts from the bottom. That way there's nothing to grab onto with your pants or your hands or anything else. And then just use your socket on the bottom holding the nut, and then use your ratchet wrench on the top, which will be the top of the bolt. And that way you'll tighten them down, and then it'll be done. All right, so I got 2.5 assembled, and I'll show you the 2 that are done, and I'll show you the last challenge I'm trying to go through with the last feeder. So here we go. They're inside the barn. Here is one of the feeders, obviously in with the boys, and they've already started eating some dinner. Now, what this feeder is replacing is these ones that we actually bought. These are actually labeled for goats themselves. Now, we actually put these in, and our half-boar goats really didn't like them. So they beat the holy bejeebers out of this. So you can see they've kind of bent everything up, broke all this out. So I've got to take this off the wall, take these bolts out there, and then this slides up. So it's just hanging up over the edge. Now these Behlen ones, or Behlen ones, however they are pronounced, they are very sturdy, I will say. This is why we keep buying them. They're awesome, they're sturdy, they hold up to goats pretty well. Now this size here is labeled as the cattle. So they have some that are labeled for sheep, some that are cattle, and then a horse. So you get some that are, the cattle size is that. The sheep one is about 6 inches shorter, maybe about 10, somewhere in there. And then you've got one that's a horse feeder that almost comes up to basically about here is where the edge of the trough goes up to. And then you can also put the same piece on top, the same rack on top, but it's just the base. So sheep is maybe good for like Nigerian goats, Nigerian dwarfs, or pygmies, somewhere in there. We got Nigerians with ours. They like to jump up in there. Nubians are good, and then the cattle one's great for that. And then the horse feeder really is going to be too tall for anything other than maybe like a horse. Challenge I'm facing on the last one, I'll have to get Nikki in here to help me, but you can see that this plastic tub should be over this edge, so it's way off. I've cut it there, and I can't squeeze the plastic enough with one hand to get the nut and bolt together. So once I get those, basically I'm using some channel locks, if I show you. Using some channel locks basically to squeeze this down together, to compress it down, get the bolt through, get the nut on the back, and then it'll tighten together. It's just that this quality inspector number 1 let this go out of their factory, which, darn shame. We really like these products, but boy, 6 out of 6 I've had to rework somehow, trying to get this stuff to fit. All right, so that is how to kind of quickly, put together the Behlen feeders. Now again, these are cattle size, so if you ever go down to like a Tractor Supply or Coastal or any of these other co-ops and that, you look for one, this is the cattle size. So it's probably, I don't know, good 18 inches off the ground. There's a sheep one that's probably about 12 inches, and then a horse, which is probably maybe about 30. It's pretty tall, pretty tall. Racking is the same, goes on the same way, and just expect 6 out of 6 I've had to rework something on them to make them go together. So just expect it, have the right tools. Seems like it's taken me longer to get the right tools to be able to put these together than it has been to put them together. So they're great, they're very durable. Just expect some challenges when you're putting them together, and that's it. And they are good after that, they are solid. So that's it, guys, from Sprague Homestead today, putting those together. If you have any questions on how to do it, remember, it's all 1/2-inch fasteners and basic hand tools, and it goes together really, really quick. So they are fantastic. Just expect some challenges. So that's it. We'll see you next time for Sprague Homestead. As Nikki always says, happy homesteading. Any questions, drop us a comment. See you next time.